In many ways, you could say that Ford was the first mainstream or non-luxury car company to do a sporty, kind of poor man's BMW X5. What I mean by that is a 5-passenger crossover that had a sporty feel to it. And that original Edge was priced about $23,000-24,000 starting price. Today's Edge starts around $30,000, and the one we're driving, which is the ST, is their top of the line with a 2.7 liter EcoBoost producing 335 horsepower, 380 pound-feet of torque. This one sits at $53,000. So quite a big swing, and I'm definitely disappointed in this vehicle, and I'll tell you why. Let's start with the good. I think the styling works, especially on this ST. You have the black wheels and this blue color, and it just sits nice. It's turned some heads, which is what you want your sporty crossover to do. So kudos to them for doing that. But beyond that, not a huge fan of this vehicle. So let's talk about the engine. As you can see, it's relatively powerful, but one thing I don't like is the excessive torque steer that it has. Even though it is all-wheel drive, it is front-wheel drive biased, and it's really not dialed in. As you know, or maybe you don't know, the next generation Explorer, which is hitting the market soon, is going to go back to being a rear-wheel drive biased crossover. So it started off life as a rear-wheel drive SUV, body on frame, went to a front-wheel drive crossover. Now it's migrating back to a rear-wheel drive platform, but still a crossover. And I think that's a good thing, because that's going to help balance out the vehicle and give it a much better driving dynamics. But we're left with this vehicle and left scratching our head. Why do they even need it? The majority of their crossover sales go to Escape and Explorer. This is pretty minor by comparison to those two models. And maybe their plan, I hope their plan, is to continue to offer the Edge, but base it now on the Explorer platform. And what I mean by that is they could do what Honda did with the Pilot and the Passport. So they started off with the Pilot, that's the 3-row family crossover, and then they shortened it and removed the 3rd row to make the sportier, more adventurous Passport. They could do the same thing with the Explorer and the Edge. They don't need to have different platforms. But this is a legacy platform. It's been around for a long time, so we're kind of stuck with it. Okay, let's get back to the Edge. As mentioned, $30,000 starting price, $53,000, which is insane. I don't like to talk a lot about competitive vehicles, but in this case, we have to. The Kia Telluride is smoking hot right now. You're lucky to find one at a dealership. They're just selling like crazy. Fully loaded, the Telluride is $46,000, and it looks better. It does have a 3rd row. It drives better. It has a better warranty. It has better features, better quality materials, better in every way, and it's priced less. So I really understand the people who put the packaging together on this Edge, thinking, well, this is brilliant. It's going to sell. I don't see people dropping $53,000 on this Edge ST. Now, granted, you can get some pretty deep discounts at the dealership, and that's great if that's your thing. But why price it so high that people won't even look at it? This interface, I've been seeing this interface seems like a decade now. You have both sides can be customized, but I'm just honestly just really not impressed. And when you put it in sport mode, you get a little tack. It's old. All this very old. You do have Apple CarPlay. There you go. But relatively small interface. A lot of hard plastics. $53,000 MSRP. My expectations are that the interior, the engine, the seats, everything is going to live up to that price tag. I work hard for my money, and I wouldn't pay over $40,000 for this, and that's being generous. So I don't know what the future of the Edge is, and certainly not the future of the Edge ST, but here it is, and for all its glory. I mentioned I'm not really excited about the fit and finish. They made some effort here to put some fake carbon fiber, and they made an effort. But this dial shifter, for example, this has got to go. This is just a horrible design. I don't like it. Do something different. There's got to be a better option than this dial shifter. But enough about that. Overall, I just don't think that the pricing matches the content, period. And I don't want to keep beating that to death. The engine should be a good selling point, and it is a good engine. I like this 2.7 liter EcoBoost. It's one of the most powerful in the segment. Much more horsepower than you can get in a Sorento, for example, or a Hyundai Santa Fe, a couple of competitors. So that's a good thing. But this torque steer is awful. Decent power. It doesn't feel like 335 horsepower. It's decent power, but it's not neck breaking, blow you away power. So why buy this car? Now, last week we had the Titanium, which is kind of the upper echelon of the luxury Ford Edge, and again, $48,000 price tag. Also, didn't feel it was worth more than 40 at most, and that had the base engine, so a lot less power, but same concept. Again, I just think they're completely out of touch. And if you're set on buying one, great. But make sure you negotiate one hell of a deal, because I don't see these holding up very well in the resale value department. Now, Ford is clearly a company that's in trouble. I look at them as a truck company that happens to make some cars. They pretty much announced that they're getting out of cars, deleting a lot of brands. Obviously the F-150 is their bread and butter, and that's followed by Explorer and Escape. That's 80% of their sales, and I don't know what the future of this particular vehicle is. I think it'll probably either go away, or, like I said, they'll make a smaller version of the Explorer for those who don't want a third row. I mentioned some of the competitors in this segment, Santa Fe and the Sorento. You have the Blazer from Chevy. We'll throw the Grand Cherokee in there, Murano, and not really going to mention the Highlander, because that's really a more like a three-row, but it's more of an Explorer competitor. But those are some of the main competitors. So the segment's kind of growing, and it's just what the marketers are telling us, the car companies are telling us, is that it fits a need for someone who was driving a family SUV. Now they're an empty nester, and they want something sportier. They don't want to lug around the third row. Okay, if that's the case, wonderful. But I think you can do a lot better than this Edge. I don't think there's anything technically wrong with it. It's just that it doesn't really live up to the competition. If it was my money right now, I would get the Pilot. That would be my number one choice. Santa Fe would be my number two choice, and maybe the Blazer would be my third choice in that segment. Did I say Pilot? I meant to say Passport. I like the new Passport. I think it looks good, and Honda gives you a lot of standard safety that the other manufacturers don't. So that's another reason to get that. So there you have it, the 2019 Ford Edge. Even though we're focusing on the ST, we're also bringing our experience from the Titanium we drove last week, and I think we're really kind of covering the entire segment. I think this is more of a $35,000, $38,000 crossover, and not a $53,000 crossover. I'm Ron Doran. Thanks for watching. See you next time on The Driver's Seat.